Alright, this video is 7.1, Ratios and Proportions. Now, some of this lesson should be a review because I know you went over ratios and proportions in Algebra 1, so a lot of this should be a review for you. So I'm going to go kind of quick in this one. So, a couple vocab words. Ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division, and an extended ratio compares three or more numbers. Alright, so make sure you have them written down, pause it if you need to, and write those down. Now, there's several ways to write a ratio. You can do A to B this way. Now, all of these are pronounced A to B. Alright, but you can do them A over B, as in fraction form, A to B with A with a colon B, or you can simply write it A to B. Alright. So if we wanted to add some numbers in there real quick, we could say like 3 to 2, okay? Or you would also write this one, you could say 3 to 2, or you could simply say 3 to 2. Alright? So, three different forms, and make sure you're familiar with all three of these because you could see them written in any of these three forms. Alright? Now, a little side note, this one here, the 3 to 2 written as a fraction, so far, the most common place you would have seen this written is with the slope of a line. Because remember, the slope of a line is the ratio of rise to run. For instance, you have a line like this, all right, and you start here, and so we want to know the slope of the line, so you count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so the ratio of the rise is 5 to 5, and of course that does reduce down to 1, okay? But, like I said, you've already been dealing with ratios because slope is simply the ratio of rise to run. All right, so 5 to 5, ratio of rise to run for this line is 5 to 5, all right? Now, another place you're going to see ratios, and don't overcomplicate this question, it says the angles of a triangle are in the extended ratio of 2 to 3 to 4. Okay? 2 to 3 to 4. Now, let's not make this any more complicated than we need to. So we have our ratio 2 to 3 to 4. Now, we know all the angles in a triangle have to add up to 180. So we need to figure out somehow to where we can do some math with this to make it equal 180. Well, if you simply throw an x here, all right, 2x, 3x, 4x equals 180, then you just simply add them together. 2x plus 3x plus 4x equals 180. You solve down and do the math. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9x equals 180. Divide both sides by 9, so x equals 20. Now, if I asked you what are the three angles? Well, we just found x is 20, so just plug it in. 2 times 20 is 40, 3 times 20 is 60, 4 times 20 is 80, and then 40 plus 60 plus 80, there you go, 180. So, when you see problems like this, the angles of a triangle, the sides of a triangle, the whatever of whatever, are in the ratio of this to this to this to whatever, you just simply put a variable behind every number in your ratio, set it equal to what they tell you it equals, and then just solve for the variable. And then just plug the variable back in, and you're done. All right, let's look at another problem. Here's another one. The lengths of the sides of a triangle are in the extended ratio of 3 to 5 to 6. The perimeter is 98. What is the length of each side? All right. So, we know the perimeter. So we know our ratio, 3, 5, 6. So we're just going to do 3x plus 5x plus 6x equals, and the perimeter is 98. All right, this is the ratio of our three sides, 3 to 5 to 6. So 3x times 3x plus 5x plus 6x will have to equal our 98. So 3 and 5 is 8, and 6 is 14. X equals 98. Divide by 14, so x equals 7. Now, what's the length of each side? Well, just take this and plug it into each one of these x's. So one of the sides, if we were to draw our triangle, and this was our 3, this was our 5, and this was our 6 in the ratio 3 to 5 to 6. 7 times 3 is 21. 5 times 7 is 35. And 7 times 6 is 42. And if you add all three of them up, they should come out to 98. So you have 6, so this is 63 and 35. Boom, 3 and 5 is 8. 6 and 3 is 9, 98. All right, so you'll be seeing things like this coming up in this chapter. So make sure you understand how to do problems like this. It's really simple. You just simply put a variable after each of these, add them together, it's equal to 98. So now you have your equation. You just solve your equation for the variable, and then plug the variable back in to get the actual answer to the question. Now, a little bit more on ratios. Okay? If you look here, we have 2 to 3 equals 4 to 6. Okay? The numbers in red, the numbers on the outside, okay, those are called the extremes. An easy way to think of it, if you think about like temperature extremes, you're thinking of something really, really low or really high. So you're thinking of numbers outside the normal. Okay? So extremes, outside. The extremes is the numbers on the outside. Now, if you think about mean, the means are on the inside. If you remember the extremes are on the outside, it's really easy to remember the means are on the inside. Okay? I don't really have a witty way to remember it, but if you remember the extremes are the two numbers on the outside, the two numbers left are the means. Now, if you were to write this in the fraction form, 2 to 3 equals 4 to 6, you can still kind of look at this 2 and this 6 as being on the outside, because this is 2 is your first number, 6 is your last number. So these are on the outside. The 3 and the 4 are in the middle. So middle, means, and then your extremes are on the outside. Okay? So make sure you understand what means and extremes are. The means, numbers on the outside. I'm sorry, extremes, numbers on the outside. Means, numbers in the middle. Now, let's look at another problem where we're going to solve ratios and proportions. Okay? So here we have 6 over x equals 5 over 4. How are we going to solve this? Well, it's easy. You multiply your extremes. 6 times 4 is 24. And that's going to equal the product of your means. 5x. Okay? So 24 equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5. So x equals 24 over 5. Do we need to simplify that down any further? No, we can just leave it like this. Okay, just leave it as the fraction. I know most of y'all are allergic to fractions, but when you're solving ratios and proportions, you need to take some Allegra so you can get over those symptoms, okay? Now, I want you to solve this one. I know I gave you y plus 4 on the top, but it solves the same way as this one. So go ahead and solve y plus 4 over 9 equals y over 3. Go ahead and solve it. Alright, so this is going to be 9y equals 3 times y plus 4. So we're going to have to distribute to 3. 9y equals 3y plus 12. Subtract the 3y over here. So now we have 6y equals 12. Divide both sides by 6. So y equals 2. Okay? So that's how you solve proportions. You cross multiply. Cross multiply. Okay? That's the trick to solving proportions. Cross multiplication. Now, here's three properties of proportions, okay, and they're all equivalent. So if we look here, A over B equals C over D is equivalent to B over A equals D over C. As you can see, all we did was basically take the inverse of each side. We just flipped it over, okay? A over B became B over A, C over D became D over C. Now, as you can see, when you cross multiply, this would be A times D equals C times B. You still get the same thing here when you cross multiply. A times B equals C over D. So these two are mathematically equivalent. Number two, A over B equals C over D is also equivalent to A over C equals B over D. As you can see, all we did was switch the two means. Okay, remember the means are the number in the middle. All we did was switch the two means. It doesn't change what you're multiplying together because you still get A times D equals C times B. It doesn't change what you get, all right? Then your last one here, A over B equals C over D is equivalent to A plus B divided by over B equals C plus D over D, okay? So all of these are mathematically equivalent. Make sure you write these down. You're going to need these for the worksheet tomorrow, all right? Now, I have a couple problems. Actually, I have three problems that I'm going to have you answer. I'm going to make it the you try. I mean, not the you try, sorry. I'm going to make it the ticket in the door, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the answers to it. Okay? So, let me bring this one in. So, here is our original proportion. A over 7 equals 13 over B. Complete the following. All right, refer back to those properties of proportions that I just gave you so that you can solve all three of these. So go ahead and write these down, pause the video, and solve all three of them. Okay, so here we have A over what equals 7 over what. All right, well, if you can see, we have A over 7 equals 13 over B. Well, what it looks like is we just flipped our means, okay? So this would be A over 13 equals 7 over B. As you can see, we're still multiplying A and B together, and we're still multiplying the 7 and the 13 together. All right? Now this one, we have A minus 7 over 7 equals what? All right, A minus 7 over 7 equals what? Well, if you go back to your property, that would be 13 minus B over B. Okay? 13 minus B over B. Okay? And the final one, 7 over A. As you can see, all we did was flip the A over 7. So we're going to flip the 13 over B to make it B over 13. So as you can see, we're still multiplying the 7 and the 13 and the A over B. Alright? So, make sure you understand this video, make sure you understand some of the properties of ratios and proportions, and understand how to solve a ratio or proportion. Alright? See you tomorrow.